morning. This is going to be, kind of informal. So as I'm talking, feel free to ask questions. My goal today is to just provide you with the same exact information the kids got. And we'll go over the timeline and the process around course selections. We met with the student. Everything shifted a little, obviously, with the snow days. And so our student window is still staying open at the same time, so students still have the same amount of time to request courses. It really didn't throw things off too much, so we did have our assemblies on Monday with all the students. And again, this is what I'm presenting is what was presented to them. And so I think providing you the same information is obviously makes sense, and then I'll share this after, so everyone has access to this. So again, I'm just gonna go through the slideshow. I don't know if I introduced myself. I'm Joe Audubon. I'm the director of counseling here, and the counselors usually attend these breakfasts, but we're actually the next 2 weeks is pretty busy for us. About 4 years ago, we changed our process. So all the counselors are meeting with students one-to-one. They're not long meetings, but we found over the years previous to that, counselors would certainly meet with students, but it was a little challenge to make sure we hit every student. So now the one-to-one meetings, we've been doing that the last 3 years. It's been very helpful. It allows a student to get some extra attention. And then certainly students can follow up with their counselor if they have any other questions in regard to this process. So I'm just going to jump right in. So one of the things that we like to discuss is our program of studies. When I first started here, way back in 2002, we used to print out about 1,200 of these. So every student would get one, every teacher would get one, a hard copy of our program of studies. It's our course selection guide. Now we do print a limited number of hard copies. We should probably keep one in the library, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But we have plenty of hard copies in the counseling office, and all the teachers in the building have a hard copy. If a student really wanted to do so, they could certainly borrow one. But it is online. The program of studies is online. It's in two formats. It's in a PDF format, and then also it's on the website in more of an online version. And every year, one of our art classes will develop a cover, and it's usually there's about 15 to 20 submissions, and then one gets selected. So this happens to be Bensley Lewis. He's a current senior, and I think this is pretty cool for a student to have this because this cover is all over the place, all around the school and on the website. And they can use that as part of their art portfolio for college. So it turns out to be a pretty good thing for Bensley. So hopefully he gets some success due to this. But in any event, that's something we do every year. And through the site, you can get the automatic link to this is a PDF version. Now the way, again, it's on the website, but the PDF version doesn't translate. However, as I said, the program of studies is also part of the website, which does translate if anyone was looking for it in a different language. And so I'm not going to go through the whole entire booklet, but just know it's 110 pages, and you're going to get course descriptions on all the courses. And I want to make sure I introduce Mr. Sullivan, who's coming here to check in to make sure I'm doing everything right. But Mr. Sullivan's our building principal. So this is the timeline. So teachers actually this morning have been closed from their recommendations. So the last week, our core academic teachers have been talking to students and making course recommendation level recommendations. Recommendations aren't made for the elective classes. It would just be math, English, history, science, and world language. So those teachers have gone in and made the recommendations. That's viewable to you. If you log in, you should be able to see that information as a parent. Students can certainly see that as well. And our core academic courses are forced recommendations, meaning a student cannot, in Aspen, change that recommendation, okay? And again, informal in the sense that if you have a question, please raise your hand. Again, we just had our grade level assemblies on Monday. Student course request window is now open, meaning students can go in and actually make selections on their electives. So that window is open and students are able to do that. The window will close on Monday, March 16th. And then counselors will start going through things to see if there's any issues, and they'll try to resolve as many as they can. The other thing to be aware of is sometime the week of March 16th, my hope is to get it to you by the end of that week, by the 20th. We'll send an email. It will be similar to a report card. It will be a one-page sheet, but it will show you the actual course requests. So it serves as like a double check for you to see what's in our system. So that will be emailed to you sometime that week. Sure, yeah, and I am going to share this. I'll share this on Parent Square. I'll share it with parents and students. But you're more than welcome to take a picture if you want to. And then we like to wrap everything up by the end of March. And I know that seems early, but there's a lot that goes into the schedule. Staffing determinations have to be made, and schedule has to be created. So there's a lot on the back end, and it has to be, and teachers need their schedules. They get them by June 15th. So that's why it does seem early, but at the end of the day, we do have to have everything done by the end of March. I know there might be some adjustments potentially after that, but we really try to put our best foot forward this month on the course selections. So just a couple things. Again, keep in mind, this is shared with students too, but our academic planning night for grade 9 and 10 is this Thursday at 6 o'clock in the auditorium. And Burlington High School is part of the Cooperative College Fair. We co-sponsor it with some other Middlesex League schools. That's on March 12th. I would recommend taking your son or daughter to that just to check it out. I did it, my daughter's a freshman. I plan on taking her just to walk around. Nothing that, you need to necessarily do. Maybe have a list of colleges that you're interested in. We did post on Parent Square the colleges that plan to attend this fair. It's over 100 colleges. It's pretty well attended. And I think it's just a good experience for a student to see all the different colleges. And again, maybe stop and talk to a few. I think it could just be a beneficial process to start to think about some of the colleges that are out there. So we have some links that we provide students, and we've already kind of looked at the program of studies. Our math department has a flow chart that you can certainly take a look at. In addition to that, we have the science, the pathway. So there's a program, this is actually the science department pathways, I'm sorry. And again, spells out different pathways that students can take. All of our students start out in biology. It shows you the sequence of events that, students did want to take particular classes in junior or senior year. Which should they be taking now or next year in grade 10? So it kind of spells out all that information. And then you all have a copy of the academic chart. So Program of Studies is a 110-page booklet with a lot of information. I do encourage you to read it, take a look at it, especially, and we tell this to the kids too, especially a course you are taking and signing up for. You want to read the description so you know what you're in for. But this is a good, helpful guide that lists all our courses. Doesn't have the description, but it is one hard copy piece of information we give all the students. So it's a one-pager of all the classes we offer. Students can use this to help them in their thought process for the courses, just to see what's available. The other piece of information we provided, our hard copy, was our four-year planner. This isn't mandatory. Someday I would like to make it mandatory, though, because I do think it's helpful. But we do provide, a lot of our students will do this, typically underclassmen, actually our 8th graders may do this as well. The four-year planner, it's pretty simple. You're just gonna map out your plans for the next 4 years. You know, and I think it can be helpful, especially if a student wanted to take, you know, if you want to take AP Chem, or if you want to take human anatomy, you need to take chemistry, biology first. So you can map that out. Again, this doesn't take long. It can change too, but it's a good way to map things out and a very helpful exercise for students to go through. I'm going to pause right now just to make sure. Does anyone have questions up to this point? We like to remind students about graduation requirements. It's pretty straightforward. Full-year class at our school is 5 credits, so we require English every year, math every year, 3 years of history, 3 years of science, 2 years of a world language in sequential order. So if a student's in Spanish 1 this year, they'll take Spanish 2 next year. PE and health are required every year, depending on the year. And then we have courses that are considered exploratory. So those are essentially elective courses, and we require students to take 10 credits from that bracket of courses. Total credits are 110, but believe it or not, the average student will graduate with like 135 credits. We have a little cushion built in for students that may need extra support services. They may not be able to fulfill a full schedule each year, so we do have a cushion built in. And students, you know, in terms of the exploratory, like to be able to view those courses to see what they are as they're thinking about course selections. And that's on page 15 and 16 of the program of studies. All right, MCAS. As you may or may not know, there was a law passed last year that it is no longer a requirement for graduation. So students now are still required to take the MCAS. It's not part of our graduation requirements. However, we are still preparing our students for the MCAS to check how they do on the, you know, compared to the Massachusetts standards. The other thing to be aware of is now that, and this has always been the case, but students that score in the top 25% within the school can get a tuition waiver to any of the Mass public colleges or universities. So, and then there's a secondary award if they're not in the top 25%, but still are in the exceeding category. They could qualify for another award called the COPLIC, and that would require students to do some extra things in order to get that tuition waiver. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this, but just know that the MCAS, and I'd be more than happy to answer more questions on it, but the MCAS could relate to free tuition. Just so you know, I'd like to give this example. Tuition, so at UMass Amherst, for example, I think tuition is right around $2,000 to $2,500 per year. And then the room, board, and fees are probably like $29,000. You don't, obviously, it'd be nice to get the room and board and fees waived, but it's just the tuition, but still a savings. 2,500 times 4 is a nice savings. So that's for all the Mass public colleges and universities. So Burlington High School graduation requirements actually exceed what, specifically more so in math and history. But we just like to let students know that are interested in college. We have about 90% of our students that go off to either 4 or 2-year colleges. And so these are the minimum requirements at some of the most colleges, most of the colleges around, especially in this area. So we actually, our graduation requirements, as I said, kind of exceed this. So we like students to see sometimes, obviously, when they're thinking about course selections, how is this going to play out when I apply to college? What's it going to look like? So we like to just point this out, that following your normal Burlington High School graduation requirements puts you in line to be, obviously depends on grades and other things, but it does put you on track to attend college and meeting the requirements of most colleges. And then we also like to list what are some of the more competitive colleges, colleges that, you know, have a very low acceptance rate. So this would be more of the competitive colleges, what they require. We do find that a lot of our students will take that third year of a world language or a fourth year of a world language. And then we like to remind our current juniors that senior year is really not the year to try to take it easy. All right, you want to continue to challenge yourself and take courses that, you know, essentially make you look good, but you also want to make sure it's balanced and you're getting good grades and preserving your GPA. Some students might get hooked on a particular college, and so we would suggest if you're really interested in that college and you know what it is, you can certainly look up what their requirements may be. Yes? Correct. Yep, that's a good question. Some of our kids came in at Spanish 2, French 2, Latin 2. So when I say 3 years, I'm referring to in high school. And then this just came to my mind. So see college websites. So like the University of California, their public school system, they actually require a humanities course. So again, we don't have it as a graduation requirement, but if that was a college a student was really interested in, this could impact your course selection, right? You would want to make sure you're taking that next year. So certain colleges do have specific requirements. Yes?
As far as AP offerings, there are certain AP courses offered for grade level.
Yeah, yep, and I'll talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk more about APs in a couple of slides, but yeah, they're at multiple grade levels. And our courses are leveled, so advanced placement would be considered a college level course. Teachers have to go through a process to be approved to teach a particular course in AP. And the requirements may vary depending on which AP course you're signing up for. And then we have honors and college prep. Every level is preparing our students for college. All right, so we have students that graduate from Burlington High School that take college prep classes and they go to college. So it's not, you know, and we have a lot of students that mix it up, CP and honors. And so just keep that in mind. They're all preparing our students for college. And then we point out the level because it factors into our GPA. All right, so I know we've all heard of that. Yes? Exams are optional? There's another slide where I'm going to talk a little bit more about APs, but I will answer that in a couple of slides, I promise. So all our classes are leveled, and they are tied to a grade point average. So we have something called a weighted 4.0 scale. It's not a 5.0. 5.0 would mean a student could actually achieve a 5.0. It's impossible here to do that because you'd have to take all APs for 4 years straight. All right, so we have a weighted 4.0. This is actually the same system that the Massachusetts public colleges and university use. So we give extra weight to honors and AP. So if a student is in an honors or an AP, you can see the difference in the GPA calculation. We calculate GPA at the end of each year. So grade 9 students do not have a Burlington High School GPA right now. They won't have one until the summer, after we calculate the final grades. For grade 10 students, same deal, except now we're using final grades from 9 and 10. Grade 11, it will be 9, 10, and 11. It's cumulative. So we do the GPA calculations in the summer leading into the next school year, and we will upload that into our college management system, Naviance, so you'd be able to access and view that. I think you can actually view it in Aspen as well when the time comes. So again, this is our weighted GPA. We only do class rank now just for graduation purposes, which would be sometime in the third quarter of senior year when a student finds out. but we do provide colleges with a GPA profile. And so what that means is we kind of map out based on your GPA. So, for example, we may have 5 students that have between a 4.5 and a 5.0, if that makes sense. So we kind of explain it that way to colleges. And we do submit to a college, again, this is through our school profile, what our highest GPA is. All right, so that's kind of how we communicate things to colleges. But please know, this is an internal Burlington High School GPA. Colleges are going to recalculate the student GPA. And public colleges and universities are very clear on that. Since they take taxpayer dollars, they have to kind of publicize how they do it. Private schools do not. All right, they have their own process. We do know from communications that we've had over the years with private schools, they're going to give more weight to AP. Sometimes they'll take out the PE grade completely. Sometimes they don't. So it depends on the college. Any questions? So we like to just publicize some of our course changes and new courses. We have a class, it was actually new last year, it didn't run this year, but it's still in the program again, called AP African American Studies. That would be available to grades 11 and 12. There's no prerequisite for this course. Accelerated Algebra 2 Pre-Calc. This is a course that would only be available for current freshmen that are in algebra, geometry or algebra 1. And so the idea of this course is it will allow a student to get to calculus in senior year if they choose to do that. Yes? Yes, because, I'm sorry, I think I said grade 9. Grade 9 or 10. The thing I wanted to say with this, too, is the current math teacher. So this isn't necessarily a course that anyone should sign up for in grade 9 or 10. Your current math teacher would be making the recommendation. You could actually look to see what the teacher recommended, or you may know already, but Accelerated Algebra 2 would be very specific for a student looking to follow a certain pathway. I think it is honors, yes. Yep. Here, what we could do, though.
And do we know if it's, I know there's probably a description, but if we want to know kind of more of how they're going to run the class.
Yeah, you would want to read the description if you want to know how they run the class.
Well, are they like teaching algebra 2 first and then doing pre-calc, or are they doing it all together?
This is one of those things, I would read the description, the course description, to see kind of what they cover.
It wasn't very clear. I was just curious. And then it is Tom teaching it? Is that the plan?
I have no idea. None of that has been determined at this point.
If we have questions about that class, can we reach out to them about it?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. You can reach out to Ms. Whitcomb. Yes.
I mean, I was a little confused by that as well, whether it's, like, if someone was planning on taking AP calculus senior year, would it make better in, let's say, like, honors geometry now, would it make more sense to go through the 4 years and have 4 years for calculus? Or, like, it's not,
I would say if a student's in honors geometry, they'll probably take algebra 2.
or less, like, it's sort of, it's not really a pathway to take AP calculus as a junior, unless you sort of have to do the, like, complete algebra, like, do the opt-out in algebra, like, you qualify.
If you were looking at, depending on where you are now, so if you're in geometry now and you want to get to AP Calc as a junior, so you're going to have to probably, you'd have to probably go through that process. Yeah, so if we, and again, this is where the charts can be helpful.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't clear if it's more for juniors or for sophomores.
So I think it's,
Catch them up so kids. So
Yes, I think it's kind of a if, and I think catch-up is subjective, because some students are following a sequence, and they plan on following that sequence. So trying to avoid the whole race thing as much as possible. It's really more, when I say race, I mean race to get to AP Calc. And I'm totally fine with the student trying to challenge themselves. But it would be for a certain bracket of students. And I don't want to misspeak on it, but it says successful completion of Algebra 1 and successful completion of geometry. So actually, this would be intended for juniors, which I think would be current sophomores. I think that's what this is for, current sophomores. So I misspoke. Not freshmen, to be current sophomores. Current freshmen would be available to them when they get to that point. And I think it's to bridge a gap, to get to AP Calc. Correct, for sure. Yep. And I think the hope, for if you have younger children, is that there'll be an actual Algebra 1 high school course taught in 8th grade. And again, I'd be more than happy to answer more math questions after, and Mrs. Whitcomb is very accessible too. She's the chair of our math department. So I think she's pretty responsive to questions like this as well. We have another new course called Discover Teaching. So if a student has any interest in the field of education, they could participate in this course. It's a semester course. Again, you want to read the course descriptions. Global Story Lab, Critical Reading for the 21st Century. This is an elective within our English department. Retail management is a fancy way to say managing our school store. All right, it's a big undertaking, our school store. There's a lot that goes into it, making sure the inventory's set, numbers, making sure everything's working with the teacher that supervises it. So we started this course, Retail Management, this year. And for students that want to continue to participate in that, they could continue with this through Retail Management 2. And then we have a course, Unified PE. I don't know if anyone's familiar with our Unified Sports program. This is, again, an elective. If students wanted to participate in our Unified PE program, they could sign up for this course. So those are our new courses that we've added. And then we modified, these are other changes or minor modifications, but we just like everyone to be aware of. So photo 3 and 4, we have a great photo program here, but we are going to combine 3 and 4 and call it Advanced Photography. Advanced Marketing, this is an existing course, it used to be called Marketing Management, just a simple name change. Modern World History through Popular Culture was called Examining Feminism through Popular Culture. We have Writing Seminar 1 and 2. It was previously called Exploratory Writing. And then you've heard dual enrollment. Many of you are probably at our dual enrollment breakfast. It's a name change. It's called concurrent enrollment now. All right, so it's going to be hard for me to not say dual enrollment, but in any event, concurrent enrollment in our program of studies, we've changed the wording. That's partly because that is wording used for, we have some upcoming grant opportunities that Ms. Tyrell's really helping with. And so a lot of the grants, believe it or not, required to be called concurrent. So if we're going to get free money, we'll call it whatever they want. So we're going with concurrent. But that is what schools are calling it now. So. And then we have career pathways at our high school right now with business and technology. So students are able to sign up for this if they choose to. The application's linked here. It's either through our business department or our technology department. And you can see the benefits. Students get to take part in some work-based learning opportunities. And they work with some local businesses to get some experience. This is all part of a grant. Students can get more than just their school counselor. They can get some additional career counseling. And you can see what the requirements are. In order to be part of that, you need 2 college-level business or computer science courses. So when we say college level, we're talking either AP or concurrent enrollment courses. Students need to take 2 of those exploratory requirements. Again, that's right in line with our graduation requirements. And then fast forward to senior year, they would do an internship program with a capstone project at the end. Did I cover that okay, Shireen? So AP, so I know we had some questions on AP. So our AP program at the high school, current freshmen are not eligible. 8th graders aren't eligible to take any AP courses as freshmen. Current freshmen are eligible to take 1. So we like to show that to our students. And then junior and senior year, we don't really have a limit on it. So through our AP classes, these are the 4 that would be available to current 9th graders to take next year. It is usually recommended by the teacher. And for students that are current sophomores or juniors, there are some APs that have prereqs and some don't. So we ask students to research and take a look at each AP course. Obviously, we'll help with that process, the counseling department. Again, the AP classes, the reason AP is appealing is because of the AP exam that is in May each year. So students will have the option. It used to be mandatory here. It's not anymore. But students will have the option to take the AP exam in May of that year. And depending on the score, students could be waived or receive college credit, depending on the college. The way they score AP exams is numerically. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's actually pretty simple. They say 5 would equate to an A in a college course, 4 would be a B, 3 would be a C, and so on and so forth. And colleges, if you look at any college or even the College Board website, you can find out what the AP policy is at particular colleges. So for example, I'm just going to use UMass as an example. So if a student took AP biology and scored a 3, 4, or a 5, they would be waived from Intro to Bio at UMass. And so that's advantageous for a couple of reasons. One is you could take, obviously, 1 less class in college. So you could start out your college career with an easier transition, 4 classes. You could take that allows you to take other classes to advance quicker in college. You could ultimately graduate sooner. So those are some advantages to the AP program, and it again depends on the test score. Just to compare it to dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment, okay, the differences between the two, concurrent enrollment is we have agreements with colleges, and the student gets a grade at the end of the semester or year, and they'll get a transcript from that college. So there's a difference in the sense that the concurrent enrollment, you don't have to take a test per se. You just have to be successful in that course. So now this is starting to gain speed a little bit over the past couple of years. So we have students that are kind of taking AP classes and concurrent enrollment, but they're leaving here with 10 or 15 credits. So that will save you money as a parent, potentially, 1 less semester of college. Or again, students can take less classes when they're in college. Yes? Yeah, so A in honors bio and A in math. Because I think there is a level of, I don't know, the way it was explained to me is there is, within the AP bio, they do get into a little bit of that type of logic thinking. The good news about AP, they map out their entire syllabus and curriculum. So if you wanted, you could probably just Google it. You could see, and all teachers that are approved for AP have been approved to teach it. So you could probably look and see what areas where that would come into play. I'm not going to pretend like I know the AP bio curriculum. Yes.
If a student is competent in a topic and feels that they would score well, can they request to take the AP test without taking the course?
I guess they could. I don't know. Yeah, they could. I mean, we've had students self-study before. That's usually for classes that we don't offer, like AP microeconomics. We don't offer that, but we'll have students self-study and take the test. So I would definitely talk, if that is what student was thinking, I would talk to the counselor about that.
Say like an example, I'm fluent in Spanish. When I was in high school, I asked to take the test and receive college credit without even having to take it.
Yes, we have a lot of students that would take AP Chinese, AP Japanese. If it's a language thing, we would definitely be able to do that. I was thinking if you're referring more to like a math or a biology, but a language for sure, yes. Yep. And we have students do that quite a bit. It's a number of things. It's course load, it's equitability, because more than one course might not fit appropriately for students in grade 10 with their other requirements. It's an equitable, and it's also a course load issue as well. All right. We have students, we want to make sure students are thinking thoughtfully about this. And again, every sophomore is in the same situation, one AP. And so students, as they branch up to junior and senior, there isn't a limit there, but we're trying to be mindful of the course load, we're trying to be mindful of equitability for all students. And, if a student wanted to map out or they felt like needing to take more APs, I would just meet with their counselor and maybe go over a 4-year plan to see how they can still achieve that goal, because we have students do it all the time. Some do. Yeah, some do, right, Cal? I think some still do, believe it or not. Some CP and honors classes, they may still have some in-house too.
And then, I guess one question would be, I think for some, like, I think for, like, sort of, for, like, for 85, I'm not sure you would be opted sophomore year.
I think it's recommended. Yeah, you can see it's highly recommended to take it at the same time.
And then, for the sophomore AP classes, some of them will actually start over the summer, or the teachers might.
Yeah, it's a good point to make. So AP courses, most require, not a course, but summer work, essentially an assignment over the summer. And that would be publicized sometime in June.
Can they cope up with AP in grade 11 if they go take computer science in grade 11 AP course? Like they have one AP course allowed for grade 10. Now they have to choose between, do they continue taking computer science to AP, or do they go with biology AP now and then take a year gap in grade 10, then take computer in grade 11?
I've seen it both ways. I think, if a student's going to pass on the chemistry, they'd want to talk to their counselor about that. But if a student wanted to continue with computer science, that something would have to give in the schedule, and it would probably be that extra chemistry elective to do that. But it depends on what AP you're referring to, like if it's AP Computer Science A or AP Comp Sci Principles. Principles, yeah. So principles, they could certainly take junior or senior year as well. The other thing I didn't mention about AP and concurrent enrollment is they all cost money. I wanted to make sure. So AP exams, there is a cost associated with that. That's why it is optional. So and we spell that out in our program of studies. And concurrent enrollment, there's also a cost associated with that as well. And right now, for a test, for an AP exam, it's $100. And for dual enrollment classes, it's $127 per credit. We're hoping with some of the grant money coming up, some of that dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment course cost can come down. But I'm just letting you know there is a cost associated with it. For students that are on free reduced lunch, we can work with them on making it cost affordable as well. Yes?
So classes that are listed as AP and concurrent, do they have to make a decision at the beginning of the year to figure out? Or can they sign up for, like, do concurrent and then take the AP exam?
So the deadlines are different. Concurrent enrollment, it's usually early October. And then the AP exam is November 1st. So the deadlines don't exactly line up. So it might, again, another benefit may be whatever course that you're referring to is to look at some of the colleges the student's interested in to see what they accept.
Yeah, I just saw some are listed as bold, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Yeah, we do have,
if it's an AP on their transcript.
it will show up as an AP. Yep. And then you'd get a transcript from the college, if that makes sense.
And then the other question is, so I have a rising junior who is going into her third year of Spanish, but due to course load wants to take CP Spanish. So I know at the senior level it's only AP Spanish, so how does that work if, because it looks like they need honors to be in that AP. So if there's nothing offered that fourth year other than the AP, how does that work out?
She would take probably another class. She would choose another class.
But if she wanted to take 4 years of Spanish.
Well, AP would be the only option. And,
Ways around it.
well, I would look at, I think that would be more of a discussion with the teacher. If she's really thinking of AP senior year, I would really try to get into that honors next year.
She's in honor, she just wants, because of her first course load next year.
Yeah,
She wants to drop down in the
okay.
course, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I would probably try to get on the same page with the World Language Department now. You know what I mean? Saying, hey, I'm going to be taking CP, want to get back to AP next year because of my course load. I think that would definitely necessitate like a discussion, and the counselor can help with that too. You said 2 questions, right? Did you ask 2? Oh, okay. We do have an opt-out policy, so we spell that out to students. It's kind of spelled out here. We do have some students that want to show proficiency in certain areas, specifically math and science and computer science. And the process is here. So, for example, if a student felt like they have already met the skills for Algebra 2, for example, they could take an exam, an Algebra 2 final exam, and if they score 90 or above, then they don't have to take Algebra 2. That doesn't go on the transcripts. It just allows them to go to that next course. It's very, very rarely does this happen, but we decided to put it as a policy just to give all students the option. Previous to that, this has probably been in existence for about a decade now, but previous to that, it was happening, but not in a formal way, so we just formalized the process so everyone has the same information. So we go over virtual classes, so this is really available for seniors, maybe juniors if spots are available. Why would you want to take a virtual class? Could be a couple reasons. One could be you want to take an elective that we don't offer. We have students that take screenwriting. We have students that take American Sign Language, contemporary Irish literature. There's a class about epidemics, genes and diseases. So there's some courses that we don't offer. Also, there's some AP courses we don't offer, like AP Microeconomics, AP Macroeconomics, AP US Government. So there's some other AP courses that we don't offer, that if a student wanted to participate, they could sign up for this. Also, it could be a student's in a really difficult situation with their schedule, and they need a class. we would also look at it in that case. So those are the potential reasons students might take a virtual high school class. We would ask a student to apply. There's an application process. You wouldn't know about your VHS class until probably the end of June sometime. We still ask students sign up for a full course load, and then if a student's accepted and VHS looks good, we withdraw you from your Burlington High School class, and you take a virtual class. Students that participate in virtual, it's not a live virtual class, so students are given assignments weekly through a teacher. It is an actual teacher on the other end, but it's not live. And students would come here to the library, and they'd be expected to work on their VHS course. It's not a Burlington High School class, so these courses don't count towards our GPA. They do go on the transcript. They do go on report card. Colleges will see the course and the grade. We only count Burlington High School courses for a Burlington High School GPA. But for example, a student taking an AP virtual class, a college would see that and they would most likely factor that in as part of their process. I just explained that. Concurrent enrollment, again, you heard me mention a little bit about this already. These are the current concurrent courses. Say that 5 times quick. Luckily, we were able to add child development. It's a popular elective here, but that's now a concurrent enrollment class. So what that means is student taking any of these classes, again, student needs to fill out the application by October. It's usually given to the students. We send an email communication home, fill out an application, submit it with us in the counseling office, and then you get a bill a couple weeks later. It's just like college would be. And so students, as they're going through the course selection process, can certainly consider some concurrent enrollment courses. These concurrent enrollment courses do get the same weight in the GPA as an AP class. As you've already heard, we do already have AP courses that are getting the extra weight, but an honors course would actually get that extra weight too. So what does that mean? So like, for example, if a student was taking honors calculus, they're getting AP weight because it's dual enrollment. That was a decision made about 2 years ago by our instructional leadership team. They felt if it's a college course, they should be getting the same weight as an AP. So that, just want you to be aware of that. Some reminders. So prerequisites, we know or we like to remind students, be aware of those prerequisites. If you want to take a particular course, you may need to take other courses to get to that. Not all courses run every year. This is primarily electives. If there's not enough students signed up, then the course won't run. Mr. Sullivan, when he's making staffing decisions, is looking at course numbers. And if a course doesn't reach a certain threshold, and it doesn't make sense to run, it won't run. Some departments alternate electives every other year, and that's in the program of studies, you would notice. They may be on an other year sequence. So again, that would be listed in the program of studies. If in that case where a course might be in the program of studies, but we know it's not running because it's every other year, when the student goes into Aspen, they wouldn't even be able to see that as an option too, just so you know. Alternates, so I don't know if anyone's had their children in over the summer for a schedule conflict or not, but in some cases, it usually happens junior and senior year, where a student doesn't get into their first choice elective. They would be selected, they would move into their alternate, which is essentially their backups. And so we ask students to take that seriously, right? You may end up in that course, so you want to make sure you choose an adequate alternate. PE and health electives, there are a couple. They don't replace a PE requirement. This is when we find students start to have issues with Aspen. They may have been using their family account up to this point, and students won't be able to have the opportunity to select the courses because the settings are different in the family account versus the student account. So if your son or daughter finds yourself in that situation and they forget the password, they'll send an email from their school Google email to aspen@bpsk12.org just to ask for a password reset. And I really like to say this, it's not a race, so the portal opened today. If there was a student that went in and already requested all their courses versus a student that goes in March 16th at 11:59, it's not going to matter. They're going to be in the same spot. We take everyone's request before we start working on the schedule. And as you know with technology, the kids probably move quicker and are better than we are at it, right? So it's not going to take long when they go into Aspen to select the courses. All the legwork should be done long before they sit down. They shouldn't be deciding by scrolling through the electives in Aspen. They should be looking at the course selection guide, looking at the program of studies, meeting with their counselor, talking to you, those types of things, and fill out the course selection guide, which I'll end with the guide discussion. But all that should be done before students are, before they log into Aspen to sign up for courses. Policy reminders, course selection should be considered final. June, I don't know if you recall, but we send out the first round of schedules in early July. That will have all the courses. It's just courses at that point that students have been placed in. We send a secondary schedule in August. That will have the teacher's name, the room number, and all that information. We still do it old school right now. I don't know how long it's going to last. We still mail home the hard copy. We may add emailing it as well this summer. But either way, you'll get early July and then again in early August. Once the school year starts, students aren't able to make a change. They're considered final. Because again, the schedule, staffing, everything's been kind of mapped out already at that point. We are here in the summer. Counselors are here throughout the whole summer to schedule appointments if students did want to make changes before the school year starts. We do have a little flexibility on making changes. And once the school year begins, level changes, if you're familiar with a level change, it's when a student may be in honors, they want to move to CP, or an AP, and they want to move to honors. So level changes are rare. There are a percentage of students that do need a level change. They do require approval, and they're considered usually halfway through the first quarter. So sometimes students will panic. They'll come down the first couple days of school. They feel like they're in over their head. We try to say, hey, stick it out for at least halfway through the first quarter. That usually, oftentimes we don't hear from that student again. All right, but there are situations where a student does need to make a change, so that's halfway through the first quarter. And then if a parent overrides, please know if a parent overrides for a level change, they're expected to stay in that course that they've overrode for the entire year. All right, and then the last thing I'll mention is just the course selection guides that you all have. So there is a yellow guide for current freshmen, green guide for current sophomores, and the blue guide, I think, is for current seniors. And so it's essentially, years ago, we used to actually collect these, and parents had to sign them. That's when the schedule wasn't done online. So now students go in online, right, in Aspen. So we've shifted these to guides. We do ask students to complete them. We don't collect them, but it's a good exercise for students to go through, because once it's completed, you can go into Aspen and go through the course request process. Each guide is specific to grade levels, as I said, so at the top portion, it kind of spells out specifics for that grade level to be aware of. And that's it. So that's the process. And again, we did this presentation with students, and students are actually, we started yesterday, they're meeting with their counselor. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, depending on the grade level of your child, teachers are bringing down their entire class. So for example, if you're a freshman, if you're in PE or health, the PE teacher's bringing the class to the counseling suite. Students are hanging out with us, and they're each coming in for 10-minute one-to-one appointments. And then we have a guest appearance, our superintendent's here. Any words of wisdom you want to pass on to these parents? About course selections? For next year. Thank you.